Uh, Good to see everybody. I'm Harlan Merriam, and who are you?
Mike Jacobson, we're with the Tune Investments.
Yeah, and we've just been talking here, Mike, about kind of a four-step process here in life that actually comes out of one of the cruises you took a few years ago. You just got back from a cruise recently, but tell us about that one and what'd you notice on that cruise?
Yeah, the one we were talking about was Bermuda,
Mhm.
and that was very interesting. We'd never been to Bermuda before, little islands out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and they had just been through a hurricane about 2 months prior. So
What'd you notice?
we noticed on a tour of the island, we found out that all the houses did not sustain any real damage from the hurricane. And we asked why. Is there, how do they construct those houses to make them survive the hurricanes? And we found out they're made of concrete. It just kind of looked like square concrete houses. And they had flat roofs. So you don't see roofs blowing away. The storm just kind of blows right over, and they collect the water from rainfall, so it goes down into a cistern under the house.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just very interesting. And then we looked like you're about to ask a question.
Yeah, I was because we just, we were talking, you observed something, you asked some questions, and then you learned how they constructed homes that survive all these hurricanes in Bermuda there. Yeah.
That's right. And because they can't just get on I-75 or I-95 north and flee the area just because a hurricane's coming in. You either have to fly out ahead of time if you can get a flight, but you know, most of the people are pretty much stuck on the island. So what do you do to make sure you can survive? And it's having housing that will survive the hurricane.
Yep. And that got you to thinking, because you and I live in Florida where there are hurricanes as well. So it got you to thinking about how are houses built in Florida? I mean, what are there things we might apply if we were to build houses?
That's right. And in what we look for when we buy something to invest in.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, the concrete block is one of the favorites. There, some of the other construction techniques are other houses that are solid concrete. And then we've also seen container homes as like tiny homes.
Hmm. I noticed a picture. I think it was not Bermuda, but Bahamas. Total devastation, and the only things that were still standing were the shipping containers that people had used as homes. So just
That's
solid.
right.
Yeah, solid.
And then I know a guy up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who's using container homes. He's actually using the containers, converting them to homes that they can be used for Airbnb.
Yeah, there's an
So it's like
awful lot that
an
can be done.
Airbnb community.
Yeah, a lot that can be done with those container homes. We're looking at that here in DeLand with a transition housing tiny home community, quite affordable and sustainable, even in hurricanes. So yeah. So we're looking at four things, Mike. You observe something on your cruise, you ask questions versus just seeing it. You wanted to learn what you could from that. You learned about the construction there, and then how do we apply that here? So we looked at those four. I guess we can use that process in a lot of things, such as our acquisitions of multifamily properties for our Tune investments.
That's right. Uh, we do look at a lot of properties, and it starts, we'll take a look at the offering memorandum, which is basically uh, a document describing the property. It'll have the big picture, tell you about the property itself, but also the local area. We provide some financials. What has the current owner done with the property, and what do they see the prospects are? And if we like what we see there, then we will start asking more questions.
Yeah, so this isn't so much that we're looking only at concrete block or concrete built homes, but just this process. We observe these offering memorandum, and then we start asking questions if it's something that draws our interest to it. And what kind of questions are we asking these days, Mike, when we look at an offering memorandum?
Well, we'll start asking the broker, what is the real potential with the property? We want to know, is it in the path of progress? What's changing around there? What's making the area better or not so good?
Mhm.
Is it declining or growing? We want to see something that is growing.
We'll ask questions about the property itself. What has been done on the property, what needs to be done. We'll ask about the kind of the rental market. What do you think the market rents might be if improvements were made? And we also ask some other questions about the seller and that, don't we, Mike?
That's right. We want to know, why is the seller selling the property? Are they selling it just because they have met the goals for the investors? They have been able to improve the value enough that they are satisfied and just want to sell and get the returns for the investors? Or is there something else going on? Sometimes you have a landlord that they just may be ready to retire and they just want to sell the property and use the money to go buy an RV and travel the country. Or it might be a landlord that is out of state and they are having trouble managing the property. They really need boots on the ground to run it well. They're having trouble with property management companies. They may have turnover, or are the underlying problems something else that they just don't know how to deal with?
Yeah, so asking questions, once we observe that there's a property available for purchase, asking questions helps us put together an offer that's works for both the seller and for us. And that's why we ask all these questions in there, and
That's
we learn about the
right.
property and able to make that offer on it and apply what we learn to make it work for us, our investors, and the seller there. Yeah. So we're observing, we're asking questions, we're learning, and then we're applying those learning. That whole cycle or process works in lots of ways. And there are lots of other places where we can observe. I know I read a lot of books, and I guess that's a place that I observe things that an author's writing about. And sometimes they're asking me questions more than I'm asking them, but I learn in that. And I try to apply that, like the One Thing book. I mean, that one was one that helped me focus, or the Tiny Habits books, those get started, do something. So it's, that's this process of observing, asking, learning, and then applying. Where else have you done that, Mike?
Also at the real estate meetup groups, at Central Florida Realty Investors, or CFRI. And then there's another West Volusia group. There's, so we can go there. We hear what other people are doing.
Mhm.
At some of the groups, sometimes there'll be a national speaker, another speaker that comes in who has a specialty, and we'll learn some of the techniques they're using.
Yeah, you were talking about flooring that you learned by going to a real estate investor group and learning about a different way of doing flooring in your renovations.
That's right. So we have gone to pretty much LVP, not very much carpet. We try to avoid carpet
Mhm.
because as a rental, LVP is more sustainable for pets. If there are a significant number of people who have pets. A lot of renters want to have a pet. And if they're going to have a pet, that means there's pet rent available.
Mhm.
So if you can get an extra $50 a month, that's $600 a year right there. If you go with LVP instead of carpet, it's going to be more durable and you might be able to collect more rent. But then also, if and when you have a turnover, the turnover is faster because it's a matter of cleaning the LVP as opposed to replacing the carpet.
Yeah. So again, we're trying to hit these four things. Observe what other people are doing that makes a whole lot more sense. Ask questions. Why fiscally does that make sense? And oh, about cleaning. Yeah. Okay. Learn from that and then start applying it in your own real estate investing business. Yeah. Using
That's
those.
right.
And I know, and you've talked about this before, masterminding is another place where we're kind of like taking a cruise. You get out of the normal way of thinking and see things, hear things, learn things that you wouldn't otherwise, and learn how to apply those. I know you've got a great mastermind that you're in.
Yes. In fact, recently we met in the Dominican Republic at
Right.
a Airbnb house or property down there.
Mhm.
So it was about 12 people, we come together and focus on our business operations for about 3 days. And each couple or individual gets about an hour and a half. We all do a deep dive on that person or couple, and they explain what's going on with their business and what questions they have, what do they need help with, and also see, just other people's inputs.
Mhm.
And so by getting other people who are involved in real estate, but not necessarily in their particular business or in their part of the country. So we get a lot of different perspectives, good perspectives from experienced investors.
Yeah.
And it opens our eyes to other things that are possible.
Yeah. So again, it's like going on the cruise. You see things you wouldn't see otherwise by being in a mastermind. You get questions asked of you and you get to ask others, you learn from them. And then my guess is, Mike, you and Barb are applying that in your own lives personally. And I know we are when you bring it back in our investments as well. Yeah.
That's right. And it helps us to focus
Yeah.
and put ourselves on a good path.
There you go. So any last words for our folks as they're observing us and learning from us today, Mike?
Well, just a few things. Get out and enjoy some traveling and keep your eyes and ears open.
Mm-hmm.
Be curious. Keep asking why. Ask lots of questions, but why do people do some of the things they do? And a lot of times there's a really good reason for it. And what do you see out there that can make your life or your business better?
Yeah, so hopefully this has been helpful. We've kind of been rambling a bit here, but there are 4 things there, and Mike just looked at those. Observe, ask good questions, learn all you can, and then start applying that to make your life better. Thanks. Good to be with you all today. See you, Mike.
Right. See you, Harlan.
Bye-bye.
Right. Goodbye.